Hello all, welcome to Diligent Learner channel. Please subscribe this channel to know such more insights on various topics. In the last lecture we have seen the details of Vedic period, comparing things in the early and late Vedic period. Today we are going to understand the emergence of Jainism and Buddhism culture. So what happened actually by the end of the Vedic period, rituals in the society become too complex to be understood or carried by the local people. The sacrificial ceremonies, which were part of these complex rituals, were too expensive and it was beyond a common man's budget. Philosophical texts which emerged during that period in the late Vedic period were too complicated to be understood by common man. We have also seen that the Varna system emerged in the Vedic period and the caste system also. So that actually became too rigid in the society that generated tensions. Priests were enjoying the superiority and Kshatriyas were the warriors. Since this caste system were tending to become hereditary, it was difficult for the lower caste to improve their conditions. They wanted to enhance their social status, but Varna system did not allow this, and that's why they supported Jainism and Buddhism. Now, at this point, we should also understand what were those complex rituals. So, first in the list are the yajnas or yag in our common language. These are the sacrificial rituals which were the integral part of the religious ceremonies in the late Vedic period. These involves the offering of various substances such as ghee, grains, and soma into the sacred fire. At that time, the fire was considered a medium of communication between humans and the gods, and these yajnas were performed to seek the gods' blessings, ensure prosperity, and maintain the cosmic order. The other in the list is Som sacrifice, which is also known as Som Yajna. It was a prominent ritual in the late Vedic period. It involved the pressing and consumption of Som juice, which was believed to have divine properties. It was associated with the god Som. The ritual had both religious and social significance and was often performed by kings and priests to gain power, strength, and divine inspiration. Then we have Ashwamedh Yajna or the horse sacrifice. It basically gained prominence during the late Vedic period. It was a grand ritual which was performed by powerful kings to assert their supremacy and try to establish their authority. The ritual involved releasing a specially chosen horse which wanders freely for a year while an elaborate ceremony was performed. If the horse returned unchallenged, it was ritually sacrificed and the king's sovereignty was reaffirmed. Then we have Rajsuya Yajna or the royal consecration sacrifice. It was another significant ritual performance which was performed by powerful kings to demonstrate their political and religious authority. It was an elaborate and expensive ceremony that involved the appointing of the king as the universal monarch. Various rituals, which also includes the offering of oblations and the recitation of hymns, were performed in this activity to establish the king's supremacy and receive the blessings of the gods. Then we have Agnihotra. Agnihotra was a daily fire ritual which was performed by the households to maintain their connection with the divine forces. It involved offering of the small oblations into the sacred fire at sunrise and sunset. The Agnihotra ritual was believed to purify the environment, protect the household, and bring prosperity and spiritual growth to the family. The last one are the vratas, fasting or vrat in our day-to-day language. These are the religious vows or observance which are undertaken by individuals for specific purposes. Specific purposes in the sense seeking blessings, fulfilling desires, or atoning for their sins. These vows involves following certain rituals, dietary restrictions, and practices for a specified period. These were considered an important means of seeking divine favor and were prevalent in the late Vedic period. Now we will deep dive into the Jainism culture. If you look at the founding principles of Jainism, it can be attributed to Lord Rishabdev. Lord Rishabdev is regarded as the first Tirthankara. According to the Jain beliefs, there are about 24 Tirthankaras in total, and Mahavir being the last one. But now you will be thinking, who are these Tirthankaras? These Tirthankaras are considered enlightened beings who have attained spiritual liberation, known as moksha, and have shown the path for others to achieve the same. Sthanakas were the temporary or permanent places of worship and spiritual practice. Sthanaka, the word Sthanaka means place or location in Sanskrit. It refers to a small shrine or a sacred place where Jain monks gather for religious activities, meditation, and study. They are typically open air structure or simple rooms without buildings. They are designed to provide a quiet and peaceful environment which is conducive to spiritual reflection and worship. Now, looking at the Jain councils, the first Jain council was held at Patliputra in the 3rd century BC. It was convened by Sthulabahu. The second one was at Vallabhi in the 5th century AD. It was presided by Devadhi Shamashramana. Final compilation of Jain literature called the 12 Angas and the 12 Upangas were completed in this council. Now, in Jainism, there are basically two sects, Shvetambara and Digambara. So, what actually happened by the end of the 4th century BC, there was a serious famine in the Ganga Valley, in the northern part, which is in the eastern Uttar Pradesh and the Bihar, Magad region. And many Jain monks, which were led by Bhadrabahu and Chandragupta Maurya, they basically came to the south in Karnataka, Shravan Belgol. Those who stayed back in the North India were led by a monk named Sthula Bahu, and Sthula Bahu changed the code of conduct for these monks and started wearing the white clothes. So what happened when these south monks went again back to the North India and they found out that the code of conduct have been changed for them, and this basically led to the division of Jainism into two sects, Shvetambara, which is white clad, and Digambara, which is sky clad or naked. The Digambara belong to the lineage of Acharya Vishaka, and Shvetambara follow the tradition of Acharya Sthulabhadra. Now, looking at the Mahavir, who was the 24th Tirthankara, his life, he was born in the Kundagram near Vaishali in the 6th century BC, which is in the region of Bihar. He was born in the Janatrika clan and was connected to the royal family of Magad. His father Siddharth and was mother Trishla. His father Siddharth was the head of the Janatrika Kshatriya clan, and his mother Trishla was the sister of Chetaka, who was the king of the Vaishali. At the age of 30 years, he renounced all the worldly possessions and followed the spiritual path. And then he practiced penance and austerity for around 12 years and attained the highest spiritual knowledge called Kevala Jnana. At that time, he was around 42 years of age. He delivered his first sermon at Pava or Pavagiri. He taught the principles of Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, and the importance of the karma. He passed away at the age of 72 in 468 BC at the Pavapuri in Bihar. Now, Mahavira, during his life, he basically gave certain teachings which are referred to as three Ratnas. These teachings are to have the right faith in the teachings and the wisdom of Mahavira, to have or possess the right knowledge, accepting the no God theory and all objects possess soul, and the followers of Jainism should follow or should have the right conduct, and basically they should have 5 vows with them. That is not to injure life. It's just not the human life, but life in any form. Not to lie, not to steal, not to acquire property, and not to lead a mortal life. So these were the 3 Ratnas or the teachings of the Mahavira. Now, if we look at the Jain literature, you will find two common things, two components, you can say, the Jain Agamas or the non-Agam literature. Two literature, Agam and non-Agam literature. So, Agam literature are basically the Jain literature and non-Agam are basically the explanation of the Agam literature. There are around 46 texts including this. So, these are the basically canonical texts of Jainism which are based on Mahavira's teaching. So it includes 12 Angas, which are mainly written in Ardh Magadhi, which is in Jain Prakrit language. 12 Upangas or Agams. These are the explanation to the main 12 Angas. Then there are 6 Chhed Sutras, which are the texts related to the behaviors of the monks and the nuns. There are 4 Mool Sutra, which are the texts which provide a base in the earlier stages of monkhood. There are 10 Prakarnika Sutra, which are the texts on independent and miscellaneous subjects, and 2 Chulika Sutras, which are the texts which further enhance, decorate the meaning of the Angas. Now, looking at the Buddhism religion, it is also a major religion and philosophical system that originated in the ancient India around 5th century BC. It was founded by Siddhartha Gautam, or commonly known as Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha or Buddh means awakened one or the enlightened one. Buddhism has since spread across many parts of the world, and it has not just sustained within India. And it has various traditions and schools in it. If you look at its core, Buddhism revolves around the teachings and the insights of the Gautam Buddha. The central teaching of the Buddhism can be summarized into 4 noble truths and the Eightfold Path, which we will see in this lecture. There are 4 Buddhism councils which have been done so far. The first one was at Rajgriha, and it was conveyed immediately after Buddha's death. So what was happening during his lifetime? Buddha has given multiple teachings and multiple sermons to the different people, and they follow a oral recitation, right? So no formal writing or preservation of Buddha's teachings were happened during his lifetime. So after his death, their disciples thought to preserve Buddha's teachings, and that's why they called this first Buddhist council at Rajgriha, which was under the patronage of Ajatashatru and chaired by Mahakashapa. Right? So Buddha's saying, which is referred to as Sutta, and the monastic rules or discipline referred to as Vinaya. Sutta was recited by Ananda and Vinaya by Upali. Both Ananda and Upali were the disciples of the Gautam Buddha. Later on, Abhidhamma Pitaka was also included in the text. The second Buddhism council was held at Vaishali, which was around 383 BC. At Patliputra, it was the third Buddhist council, which happened under the patronage of Ashoka. It was chaired by Mogaliputra Tisha. The final version of Triptikas were completed in this council. Right? At Kundalavan, Kashmir, the fourth Buddhism council happened under the patronage of Kanishk. It was chaired by Vasumitra. Ashwaghosha participated in the fourth council. Now, if you look at the life of the Gautam Buddha, he was born in the Lumbini garden near Kapilavastu. His father was Shuddhodana, who belongs to the Shakya clan, and his mother was Maya Devi. His mother was died at the childbirth only, so Gautam Buddha was brought up by Prajapati Gautami. Gautam Buddha was married to Yashodhara, and they had one son named as Rahul. At the age of 29, Gautam Buddha left home and embraced a lifestyle of asceticism or extreme self-discipline. He gave first sermon at Sarnath, which is near Banaras. He died at the age of 80 years in Kushinagar. He visited many places in his lifetime, delivering different teachings or the sermons to the different people like Banaras, Rajgriha, Shravasti, Vaishali, Nalanda and Patligram. Important disciples of Buddha are Sariputta, Moggallana, Ananda, Kasapa and Upali. So these are the prominent ones. There are many others also, but these are the prominent ones being asked in exams or being written or referred in the text. Now, if you look at the teachings of the Gautam Buddha, as I told, there are 4 noble truths, right? The first one is the life is full of, or the world is full of suffering. Right? If you see around yourself, the world is full of suffering, and if you deep dive to identify the cause of their sufferings is basically the desire. Right? The suffering can be removed if we are able to get rid of this desire. Right? And we can basically get rid of this suffering or desire by following the Eightfold Path prescribed by Gautam Buddha. The first one is the right view, and it is one of the most important step on the path, because we must first understand the truth of the 4 noble truths in order to begin our journey. Right? Then we have right resolve, right thought, right in the means according to the facts. In other words, it basically suggest that we see things as they are and not as we would like them to be. Then we have right speech, action, and livelihood, which include moral barriers that prevent lying, stealing, committing violent acts, and making a living in a way that harm others. These moral barriers not only help to achieve the general social harmony but also help us to control and eliminate our sense of I. Then we have right effort, which is important one because the I thrives on inaction and the wrong effort. Inactivity because if we do not try to practice them, we cannot hope to achieve anything at any level in life, and in the wrong endeavor because the greatest crimes that have been committed by very active people. Therefore, the effort must be made and must be consistent with the teaching and with the effort to eliminate our I. The last two steps, you can say the right mindfulness and the right concentration. These are the two stages which represents the path towards liberation from pain. So these are the eightfold paths which was part of the Buddha's teachings that should be carried by the individual to get rid of the desire, which will basically help him or her to get rid of the suffering. In his teachings, if we notice, Buddha neither accepts nor rejects the existence of the God. Basically, he emphasizes on the law of karma. And in his view or in his thought process, he believes that soul does not exist. There are two kinds of disciplines of Buddha, monks or the bhikshuk and the lay worshippers or the upasikas. There are different traditions and schools in Buddhism. The most prominent one are the Hinayana and Mahayana. These are two schools of Buddhism. Hinayana is also known as smaller wheel, while Mahayana is also known as great wheel. Hinayana sect believes in the original teaching of the Buddha or the doctrine of elders, while if you look at the Mahayana, they believes in the heavenliness of Buddha and idol worship of Buddha and bodhisattvas embodying Buddha nature. Hinayana does not believe in idol worship, right? And while Mahayana does believe in, and they believes in the universal liberation from suffering for all beings. Hinayana says that to attain individual salvation, that is through self-discipline and meditation, while Mahayana, their ultimate goal is spiritual upliftment. Ashoka patronized the Hinayana sect, and the Hinayana scholars basically use the Pali language, while Mahayana believes in the mantras and Sanskrit was their predominantly language. Now, by the end of this period, we have seen a bit of decline of the Buddhism culture, and there are multiple causes for that. The first one is the revival of the Brahmanism and the rise of Bhagavatism, which was coming from the late Vedic period, you can say, right? Buddhism began to adopt the Sanskrit, giving up the Pali language, and Pali is the language in which the initial writings or the text have been written for the Buddhism religion, right? So the people or the scholars started adopting Sanskrit language, and they Buddhism seeing a bit of decline because of this region. After the birth of the Mahayana Buddhism, the practice of idol worship and making offerings led to the deterioration of moral standards. And then we have seen the attacks of the Hun in the 5th and 6th century, which destroyed the Buddhist monasteries also. So these were some of the causes because of which we have seen a decline in the Buddhism culture in our country at that time, but it has not been completely eliminated, and we are still following, some people still follows the tradition of Buddhism here in India, and this culture has been spread out to different parts of the world also. So that's all for this video. If you like this video, please subscribe this channel. Thank you.